What if I told you that our greatest cosmic achievement was actually a billion-dollar disaster, a blind eye drifting in the void? For decades, we hid a microscopic lie that nearly killed the dream of touching the stars until a desperate, high-stakes gamble changed everything. The journey of the human spirit has always been a quest to pierce the veil of the unknown. And after our look at the cosmic mirrors that reflect our past, we must turn to the one instrument that dared to gaze further than any other. For as long as we have walked this earth, we have been prisoners of the very air that sustains us, viewing the stars through a turbulent, muddy atmosphere that blurs the true face of the heavens. But in 1946, long before the first rocket ever grazed the edge of space, a visionary named Lyman Spitzer looked at that blurring sky and saw not a barrier, but a challenge. He didn't just want a better telescope. He wanted to transcend the biological limitations of our world. He imagined a silent sentinel drifting in the absolute clarity of the void, a great observatory that could capture light from the dawn of time itself, untouched by the shimmering haze of Earth. Yet, as poetic as the dream was, the reality of bringing Hubble into existence was a brutal war of attrition against budgets and bureaucracy. The scientific community had to bleed for every inch of progress, eventually suffering the agonizing choice to shrink the primary mirror from 3 meters down to 2.4. It was a compromise etched in glass, a physical manifestation of the struggle between infinite curiosity and finite resources. Then came 1986, the year the dream was nearly buried in ash. When the Challenger disintegrated in the Florida sky, it didn't just take 7 brave lives. It paralyzed an entire generation of explorers. For 4 long, haunting years, Hubble sat in a cold, sterile, clean room, a multi-billion-dollar prisoner of fate, waiting for a chance to finally open its eyes while the world wondered if it would ever see the light. The heavy silence of that clean room was finally shattered by the thunder of 1990. But as the world cheered the launch of Discovery, we had no idea that our greatest triumph was about to become our most public humiliation. When Hubble finally cleared the atmosphere and opened its eyes to the blackness of the void, the anticipation at NASA was electric. Scientists expected to see the sharp, crystalline architecture of the cosmos for the very first time. Instead, the images that flickered back to Earth were a heartbreaking ghost of what was promised. The stars weren't pinpoints of light, they were blurred, weeping smears surrounded by eerie halos of wasted energy. In that moment, the eye in the sky had become a billion-dollar patient suffering from a devastating case of cosmic nearsightedness. The post-mortem revealed a truth so small it was almost impossible to comprehend. A flaw in the primary mirror measuring a mere 2 microns. That is 1/50th the width of a human hair, a microscopic margin of error that managed to derail decades of human ambition. It was a failure of perfectionism itself, as the mirror had been polished into the most precisely wrong shape in history. The public backlash was swift and merciless. Hubble became the punchline of late-night talk shows, a symbol of government waste and scientific arrogance. But for the engineers and astronomers who had poured their lives into this machine, it was more than a technical glitch. It was a soul-crushing weight. They had reached for the stars and tripped over a shadow, left to watch their masterwork drift through the silence of space, a sightless king mocked by the very universe it was meant to conquer. The world watched with a mixture of pity and skepticism as Hubble drifted in its sightless orbit. Yet beneath that public mockery, a desperate and brilliant plan was taking shape to give the blind giant a second chance at life. The solution was as elegant as it was daring. If we couldn't bring the mirror back to Earth, we would have to send the optometrists into the abyss. NASA engineers designed CoStar, a series of corrective mirrors that would act as sophisticated reading glasses to counteract that infamous 2-micron flaw. But the stakes were suffocating. This wasn't just a repair mission. It was a trial for the very future of human spaceflight, a gamble where failure meant the permanent death of a dream and the end of public trust. For 11 grueling months, 7 astronauts lived in the depths of giant neutral buoyancy tanks, simulating the weightless ballet they would soon perform 350 miles above the Earth. They practiced until their hands bled within their pressurized gloves, knowing that out there, in the bone-chilling vacuum of space, there would be no room for a single slipped wrench or a tired mind. In December 1993, the mission finally unfolded, a 10-day high-wire act of mechanical surgery in the silent dark. When the first corrected image of the Messier 100 galaxy finally flickered onto the monitors at Goddard Space Flight Center, the silence didn't break. It shattered into tears of pure relief. The spiral arms of the galaxy were no longer a smudge, but a crystalline cathedral of light. In that moment, we didn't just fix a telescope. We proved that human ingenuity could reach into the void and redeem its most devastating mistakes. With its vision finally restored to a state of crystalline perfection, Hubble stopped being a symbol of human error and transformed into our most profound bridge to the divine. It began to pull back the curtain on a reality more beautiful and terrifying than we ever dared to imagine. In 1995, it stared into the heart of the Eagle Nebula and captured the pillars of creation, showing us towering cathedrals of interstellar gas where stars are born in a violent, majestic nursery. But perhaps its most radical act of defiance occurred when Robert Williams pointed the lens at a tiny, seemingly empty sliver of the dark. For 10 consecutive days, Hubble drank in the silence, revealing that nothingness was actually a tapestry of over 3,000 ancient galaxies. We learned that the universe was not a lonely void, but a crowded, living ocean of light. From witnessing the catastrophic impacts on Jupiter, to hunting the invisible web of dark matter and tracking the mysterious, cigar-shaped visitor Oumuamua, Hubble redefined our place in the cosmos. It taught us that we are not just observers of the universe, but a part of a grand, unfolding story that stretches back over 13 billion years. The legacy of these cosmic revelations transformed Hubble from a mere piece of government hardware into a global citizen, a shared eye that belonged to every person who has ever looked up in wonder. By 2006, when NASA considered letting the telescope drift into a silent grave to save costs, the world rose up in a rare moment of collective defiance, proving that this machine had become a vital part of our cultural soul. We couldn't let it go because Hubble had become our primary witness to the infinite. Yet, time is a relentless thief, even in the vacuum of space. By 2021, the aging gyroscopes and weary electronics began to show the fraying edges of a 30-year odyssey, signaling the inevitable transition toward the era of the James Webb. Watching Hubble fade is like watching a grandparent lose their sight after a lifetime of wisdom. There is a profound, quiet sadness in its slow withdrawal from the frontier. But its true triumph isn't found in the 300 terabytes of data or the thousands of academic papers, but in the way it fundamentally shifted the human perspective. It forced us to confront our biological moment, that fleeting, fragile span of time we are given to exist, and showed us that we are significant enough to have mapped the dawn of time 13.4 billion years ago. As the sun sets on this legendary mission, we are left with a deeper sense of humility and a more courageous curiosity. Hubble taught us that while we may be small, our reach is infinite. I hope you carry that sense of awe with you tonight. If this journey through the stars has touched you, I invite you to share your thoughts and stay with us as we continue to chase the light across the dark. The saga of the Hubble Space Telescope is far more than a timeline of scientific achievements. It is a profound testament to the resilience of the human spirit. From its inception in the visionary mind of Lyman Spitzer to its agonizing years in storage following the Challenger tragedy, Hubble's journey was defined by a relentless refusal to let a dream die. Even when faced with a humiliating two-micron flaw that rendered it blind in the vastness of space, humanity did not retreat in shame. Instead, we pioneered a daring rescue mission that proved our capacity to redeem our greatest failures through ingenuity and courage. Hubble went on to peel back the layers of the cosmos, revealing the pillars of creation and thousands of hidden galaxies, fundamentally shifting our understanding of our place in time. It taught us that while our biological moment is fleeting, our reach is infinite. As this legendary observer enters its twilight years, it leaves behind a legacy that transcends data. It serves as a global icon of curiosity, reminding us that no matter how dark the void or how deep the flaw, we have the power to fix our gaze on the stars and find our way home. The most striking lesson from Hubble is that perfection is not a prerequisite for greatness. Persistence is. A microscopic error of 2 microns almost defined Hubble as a billion-dollar failure. However, it was not the flaw that defined the telescope, but the human response to it. In our current world, we often paralyze ourselves with the fear of making a 2-micron mistake in our careers or personal lives. We treat failure as a final verdict. Hubble teaches us to shift our perspective. Acknowledge the blur. When things go wrong, don't hide the blurry images of your life. Engineer a solution. Instead of discarding your dreams because of a setback, look for the corrective lens, the new skill, the shift in mindset, or the help from others that can restore your vision. Keep looking up. Your current struggle is likely just a brief chapter in a 13.4 billion-year-old story. Use your biological moment to focus on progress rather than perfection. If you could point a telescope at any moment in your own past or future to see it with perfect clarity, which moment would you choose? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read your perspective and learn from your journey. Also, if you found this story meaningful, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support is the fuel that keeps us exploring the wonders of the cosmos and sharing these incredible stories with you. Thank you for being part of our community.